Pleasant Sabbath, everybody.
Pleasant Sabbath.
Let's start with our word of prayer. Let us pray. Loving Father in heaven, we humbly come before your throne of grace today, even on this thy holy Sabbath day, thanking you, Father, for bringing us safely through yet another week, that we may sit at your feet to receive light from your throne of grace, to sanctify our hearts, to give us hope that we may overcome and that we may make it to the end. As we enter Daniel class, may your spirit of truth be with us, to bless us with principles that we may be able to stand up for the truth and to defend our rights and freedoms in the end. So these mercies we ask of thee and thank you, O Father. In Jesus' holy name. Amen. Amen. Right. Well, just an introduction to the study, right? In Daniel class, we deal with rights and freedoms. And you know, what we have liberty to do and what we don't have liberty to do. So let's quote one text as I introduce Sister Nicole, right? It's taken from Psalms 119 and verse 45. Right? Psalms 119 verse 45. It says this: and I will walk at liberty, for I seek thy precepts. So to walk at liberty is in context to the law of God. Amen. So you know there is no liberty outside of the law of God. So you know, that's Sister Nicole.
Amen. Father in heaven, we do really thank you, Lord, for this your holy Sabbath day. Lord, as I'm about to present this truth to our brethren, Lord, help me to be precise, help me to be clear, help me to be so simple that even the youngest child would be able to understand. Father, bring back to my memory all things that I have studied over the past few weeks, and help me, Lord, to represent you in all things, in every facet of my life. Lord, be with us, send your Holy Spirit, grant us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding as we are about to begin our class, is our prayer with much thanksgiving unto thee. Amen. So the last time we stopped at where we saw the rights of God in the Ten Commandments. And before we broke off for the past 2 Sabbaths, I am supposed to continue where I am about to show the rights of God also in the Ten Commandments. The rights of man, sorry, also in the Ten Commandments. Because remember that the rights of God and the rights of man are entwined. And why are they entwined? Is because they are enshrined in the Ten Commandments. Without our rights, we cannot have freedoms. And without our freedoms, we cannot exercise our rights. So they are all intertwined. I will explain. Okay, brethren, so let us begin. We are going to see where the rights of man is in the Ten Commandments. Right? Now, when I did this, it has so many, but I only chose one for each right. And what are our 3 rights for the Declan?
Right to privacy, right to private property, right to life.
Beautiful. So we are about to see that our religious liberty right is in the Ten Commandments. Exodus chapter 20. Exodus chapter 20. And we are going to read from verse 8 to verse 11. Exodus chapter 20 from verse 8 to verse 11. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of Yahweh thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. Why? For in 6 days Yahweh made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested on the 7th day. Wherefore Yahweh blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. This alone, just that little reading alone, shows our religious liberty. Our right to serve God, our right to keep the Sabbath day holy. Because God said to us what? Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. Right? Our right to life. Exodus chapter 20. Exodus chapter 20 and verse 13. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt, as Brother Medina just said, the proper interpretation is, thou shalt do no murder. Our right to life. If we encroach upon another person's right to life by unlawfully killing that person, unlawfully murdering that person, we are denying that person his right to life. And if our life is taken away for righteousness' sake, we are being denied our right to life. Right? Brother Kwame, you want to say something? Alright, okay. The right to private property. Exodus again, chapter 20 and verse 15. Exodus 20 verse 15. And it says, thou shalt not steal. Plain, simple, to the point. Thou shalt not steal. If you take away another person's private property without the consent of that person, move it out of that person's possession, you stole somebody else's property, you are denying that person the right to his private property. If we, because of the truth and because we are in the truth and we profess the truth, our private property is taken away from us by the government or whosoever, we are being denied the right to our own private property. Now if we go through the 10 Commandments, brethren, we will see others. You'll see more of the right to life, the more of the right to private property, and the more to worship, our right to worship God. But as I said, I just chose one for each. Okay, brethren? So we on so far, right? We following, right? Good. So we can see how the rights of man, when protected, respected, and upheld, is also upholding, respecting, and protecting the rights of God. So when any government goes against the rights and freedom of man through constitutional reform, they are ultimately going against the rights of God. Because you can find the rights of God and the rights of man in the 10 Commandments. When you see, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy, we are worshiping God as, and He is the only true and, so that is we are expressing our right to worship God. And we are also keeping His right to be worshipped by all. You understand? So our rights and the rights of God are intertwined in the 10 Commandments. The Constitution of the United States was framed after the 10 Commandments. Although they're trying to change it now, although it already has begun to take God out of the Constitution, they're denying people having Bibles in schools, they're denying the schools having prayer. You know, in Trinidad here we are accustomed before school starts, we assemble and everybody pray, and they're denying that in the United States now. They can no longer do that Because they're saying that if a Seventh-day Adventist, a Baptist, and a Catholic in the same school, and if the school is praying, let's say the Hail Mary, then you're going against the Baptist and the Seventh-day Adventist. That's their reasoning. Why they want to take religion, prayer out of schools, right? They also, when like for Christmas and Easter and these things, people are no longer allowed to have their Christmas decorations up because it could annoy your neighbor who may be a Jew, who may be, who don't celebrate Christmas. You may annoy that person. And in their reasoning, they're saying that you are going against that person's religious liberty because you have your Christmas decorations and stuff up. Yes, brother?
So what about you who want to celebrate Christmas? Just straight on the question.
Yes.
You who want to celebrate Christmas. So that person who causing you not to fulfill your declaration, then they're going against your freedom and right.
No, it's according to who it is. It's according to who it is.
Oh, according to
who it is. Yeah, according to who it is. Yeah. Because if it's a Jew, because remember, when it's called anti-Semitic, right? To put up your Christmas decorations and think it's anti-Semitic. Because remember, they don't celebrate Christmas. What? It is not anti-Christmas if they don't want you to put up your decoration. So it's according to who it is. It's according to who happens to be your neighbor. Yes, sister. I'm not saying a word to say.
Just speak around that a particular marathon in the States. And I won the race and he like looked up and point to heaven and he attacked God and disqualified him to race.
And took away his medal, yes. Yes.
Which what he was saying comes to
Let me say it.
in a crisis. Let me say an earthquake or something. This is the same people who gather together
And want to pray, of course. Of course. You see, prayer to them is convenient. It's a convenient thing, right? So, in my researching, I have found so much information, brethren. I have found so much information in my research. But let me follow my pattern, right? So we continue it. Seeing that our rights and freedoms go hand in hand, because without our God-given rights, we would have no freedom. And because our rights determine our freedoms, and without our personal freedoms, we will not be able to exercise and enjoy our basic rights. Let me break it down. If I don't have the right to religious liberty, I don't have the right to keep the Sabbath day holy, then I would not have the freedom to come to church on the Sabbath day. I could get locked up. They could take away my private property. You see where I'm going? So I wouldn't have any freedom. They will curtail my movement. I wouldn't be able to protest against it, so I wouldn't have freedom of speech. I would not be able to voice my opinion, so I would not be able to exercise my freedom of choice. So if they take away my religious liberty, they're taking away 3/4 of my freedom. So if I cannot have my rights, I cannot exercise my freedom. And if I am able to exercise my freedoms, I would be able to exercise and have and enjoy my rights. Understand? What confusion? Tell me.
Just rights is not doing things.
Well, yes, I understand. I understand that rights is not there. We know rights is not doing things, but if we do not have our right, if we cannot have right to religious liberty, if we cannot have the right to worship God, right? Let me give an example, right? Let us say our present government decide that this is going to be, we will only have Hinduism as a religion. Let me just say it, right? we only allowed to have Hinduism as a religion, right? And they decide to change the constitution because we know the constitution said that no government is supposed to legislate any law, right? I have it here, right? So let us say she decides that this is going to be a Hindu state, right? So, and we could only worship on the Sunday, right? Good. And we decide we're not taking that. We're not standing for that, right? And she decided that she's not standing for that either. So we have to stand up. She would decide, here what? I am the Prime Minister, I can do what I want, what I say goes. So, if I say that you are not to worship on the Sabbath day, so be it. If she decides that you are not to worship on the Sabbath day, and you decide you're worshiping on the Sabbath day, what could she do? All kind of penalties she could put on you, right? I mean, we know where to go through persecution, but there's all kind of penalties she could put on you. So by denying you your religious liberty, she's also denying you your freedom. You understand? Okay, beautiful. So anytime they interfere with our religious rights, they interfere with our freedom. Anytime they interfere with our right to life, they interfere with our freedom. Anytime they interfere with any of our freedom, they interfere with our rights also, because they are intertwined. Okay, Bridget? Amen. Any questions, any comments? Just for the mic.
Let's have comments, right? Seeing how God created us to worship Him, right? We were made a worshiping being, to worship God. We have the right to worship God. To worship God entails certain freedoms, but exercise the right. Right? So it needs certain freedom to exercise the right.
Right.
Because you must think to exercise the right.
Beautiful.
Right?
Beautiful.
You must hold a specific doctrinal position to exercise the right. Freedom of belief. You understand? You must have consciousness so that the right to be exercised.
That's not
you must have opinion. You must have choice to manifest.
Amen.
It. You understand?
Amen. Amen.
So, with how we were created with the rights, our freedom goes with the rights.
Amen.
You understand? And by our freedom we enjoy our rights. This is how God created us. You understand? Since He created us to worship Him, to worship God must take thought. Must take certain exercise taking place within the mind.
Amen.
So with the mind we go certain freedoms. You understand? And it must take certain outward movements and steps to declare, to speak, to move, with also the freedoms as well. You understand?
Amen.
So with that, the way God created us, those are our rights and our freedoms.
Amen.
Is the rights of God is also the will of God?
Say it so everybody.
Is the rights of God is also the will of God?
If the right of God is also the will of God,
Will of God.
the word or the will? Will of God. If the rights of God is also the will of God. That's a nice question. If the rights of God is also the will of God.
God's will, right?
God's will. He's trying to explain the answer to his own question. Go ahead.
Right? So you know God is will, right? And He gave us His righteousness. Right? So if God will, it's His right. I mean,
yes, if it's His rights, it's also His will, right? Brother Michael, what will you about to say?
The only thing God's will is according to His right.
Why?
Because God's will is always according to who He is in nature. God's rights is based upon who He is in nature. You understand? And based upon who He is in nature, His will and His purpose is according to that. Amen. So His will all be according to what? His rights.
His rights. And if His will is according to His rights, then He will that we have rights and freedom.
Amen.
You understand? It's a good question, right? Anybody else? Anybody else want to add to that? Okay, so we're moving on. So our rights are, our three rights are the right to religious liberty, the right to life, and the right to private property. Now I was wondering why is in that order? Why is it in that order? Why is it the right to religious liberty, the right to life, and then the right to private property? Who could answer that question? Why is it in that order, that particular order?
Because Yahweh is first, creation would be second, and then the material things would be after.
Amen. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and all his righteousness. Right? So that is why it is in that particular order. Right? Because, but in my mind, without God, we can't have life. Without God, we cannot have life. So, ergo, yes, but I call you. Go ahead. Nobody.
See, I touch like when she asked the question and I say, to the brethren here, you know it's that God created Adam. So God is first. Right? He breathed the breath of life into Adam.
Amen.
So Adam had existence.
Amen.
That's right to life here. Then he put Adam in the garden of Eden, right? Tell him dress it and keep it. Right.
Private property. Amen for that. Amen.
And he taught that straight.
Amen. 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 Right? So, looking at our rights and freedoms, that rest people are falling. Oh my goodness, that rest. Only one for me just said. That, wow. We didn't hear what Brother Kobe said. Oh my goodness. Brother Kobe, I think you're going to repeat it. Wow.
When she asked the question, right, and you know, I thought like her mind and I was just relating it to the brethren. She's asking why it is in that order. And the thought that strike me is that God created Adam. So it means that God is first. God was existing first. Right? And he created Adam and he breathed the breath of life into Adam. So Adam have life. So that is the right to life. And he placed Adam in the Garden of Eden to keep it and to dress it the right to private property.
Amen.
In our order.
Amen.
In creation.
In creation. So which means our rights and freedom was from the beginning. Amen. Amen. From the beginning we had our rights and freedoms. They're waiting for us. And nobody have the right to interfere with our rights and freedoms. No right to do so. Anytime they interfere with our rights and freedoms, we as a people have to kick against it. Do not sit quietly and let things happen. Don't let nothing pass by your nose and you don't see it and say something about it. Don't do that, because when you do that, you are allowing tyranny to take place. Our rights and freedoms belong to us, given to us by God. Our rights and freedoms are what? Inalienable and what? Inviolable. Inalienable means they're not from this earth. No man didn't give us our rights and freedoms. And inviolable means what? They are not to be violated by nobody, under no circumstances. And I am not going to sit idly by and nobody encroach on my rights and freedoms. Not on God's green earth. Yes, Brother Michael.
As they say that, right, it's a thought striking, right? Look, God, who created us with rights and freedoms, don't even violate it. But in the plan of salvation, respect it.
Amen.
He tell you, come now and let us reason
together. Amen. Amen.
You see that? So you don't even, God who created you, don't even violate it. Yes, and he wouldn't like to be worship on my Lord, but he's telling you, come and exercise your rights and freedoms. Come and do it.
Amen. 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 And God, what is one of the rights of God? To be judge of all. And God, who is judge of all, will judge us according to what we do, how we think, and what we say when our rights and freedoms are being violated. This is a serious thing, brethren. It's a very serious thing, because without our rights and freedoms, we will have a communistic gearing towards communism. Communistic gearing towards communism. Which means what? When they violate our rights and freedoms, we would not be able to practice our the first right is our right to religious liberty. That is the first right they're going to attack, because everything else comes after that. That is the first right they're going to attack. Back in the day of the Waldenses and them, what it is they did? What it is they did? They took away all their property, they murdered them, they violated them in the worst ways. In the worst ways. They stood strong so that we can have God's unadulterated truth today. But look at how they were violated. Imagine, they sent soldiers to hunt down these people like animals in the bush. Hunt them down like animals in the bush. Had them living in caves with no light, no light, because they only shine a little pinprick of light, they will pick them up. Imagine this. Their rights and freedoms were totally violated. And because of our pioneers, brethren, we have to stand up for our rights and freedoms, because they shed their blood for it.
Yeah, here now.
They shed their blood for it so we can have it today. No. This constitutional reform business that is taking place here, I have something to read for you all. So I'll put this down, right? I have plenty. I'm not going to read all today. But this one, first I'm going to read this one by Kevin Baldio Singh. You all know who is Kevin Baldio Singh, right? Those who don't know who he is, remember he's an atheist. Remember it had some time ago, I think about a year or two ago, he was a writer for the Newsday. Yes, he was a writer for the Newsday, and because one of the politicians back then, the whole thing went is that he wrote against a particular politician and they fired him from the Newsday. And the Express picked him up. Right? So, here is what Mr. Baldio saying in one of the constitutional reform meetings that they had. Here is what he had to say. Right? Verbal clash over God and gays.
What and who?
God and gays.
Sodomites.
Right? Views and topics such as God and homosexuality, scratch that, sodomy, were expressed at the first public consultation on constitutional reform on Monday night. The session was held at the Center of Excellence, Nicole, where citizens used the opportunity to also voice their concerns on the local government system. Brother Samuel, he gave me this last week to go through, and there's a questionnaire. This questionnaire is very simple. There's a questionnaire concerning the constitutional reform, right? It is very, very, very deceptive. Very deceptive. This questionnaire, tricky. But, see, the thing is, I'm a Tuesday. So certain things don't bypass me at all. So, going on. In his opening statement, okay, the session was held at the Center of Excellence, Mokoya, where citizens used the opportunity to also voice their concerns on the local government system. Legal Affairs Minister Prakash Ramadar sat at the head table and listened to the remarks made. In his opening statement, he said he was there to listen and the people should feel free to speak their minds. Each person had 3 minutes to express their view. Assistant Secretary General of the Caribbean Religious Liberty Association, Oswald Pierre, spoke of this country's need for religious freedom.
Okay.
While the Constitution provides for religious freedom and fundamental rights, there are still some very high-profile and prestigious institutions that are not allowing certain minority groups to enjoy religious freedom. Some of these issues are now before the courts. I will not make mention of a situation with respect to our Baptist friends in Cuba, whose church was bulldozed without due process. So what is he saying here, Mr. Oswald Pierre? He is saying that even though we have a form of religious liberty, it's not full religious liberty, because certain minority groups, and mind you, he said he would not mention the Baptists. He said, I will not make mention of a situation with respect to our Baptist brothers in Cuba whose church was raised. So what he is saying is, now, the church that was raised, that was destroyed, I know, not raised as in R-A-I-S-E-D, R-A-Z-E-D, raised, destroyed, right? I know these people personally. Personally. And the lands they were on was not their land. It was state land. State land with a twist. How could they do it? State land with a twist. In this sense, right? If you are a member of the government, or you are a member of the government, and you decide that you want her to have the land to build her church, you can do whatever you need to do to get her to build the church. But if he decides he wants to build a church on the same land, and you decide he's not to have it, you could do what you have to do so he wouldn't have it. So this is what took place. Somebody else wanted it, and the person who wanted it couldn't get it because somebody else wanted somebody else to get it. So that is why they raised the people's church, right? They destroyed the church. They gave them no forewarning, and when they bulldozed the church, it was on a Sunday morning when they were having church services, right? So this is what happened with that. So what he is saying is that we have religious liberty, but not full religious liberty, because certain minority groups are being discriminated against where religious liberty is concerned. Yes, Brother Michael?
Even if something like that happened,
I'm not hearing a word.
even if something like that happened, does the constitution of the country deny my religious liberty?
Of course not.
It's a building a bulldozer.
It's a building.
My
Amen.
liberty.
And amen.
How take away from that? You understand? So,
how we take away from you being a Baptist and putting up your flag and doing whatever else you do, whatever else. But religious liberty, exactly. Exactly. Private property is what it interferes with. That is to show you how these people don't even understand
the rights and freedom.
What is rights and freedom?
They see it as religious liberty because they see the building to be holy and religious. That is all just
exactly.
Right. Millions.
God.
Taking away the building, not taking away what implemented to stop them from having their worship or their fellowship.
Amen.
So it's not
amen. Because before they built the church on that land, the church used to be in, I know the people personally, Miss Yvette, the church used to be in her home, in her drawing room. You understand? So, now that they have a church and they break down the church, why not just go back to the drawing room until they build back the church in the courts? Yeah, we understand that. But what the building have to do with religious liberty? Absolutely nothing. Right?
If the property was theirs.
Exactly. And that's the thing, the property is not even there.
So the thing they are buying someone else's private property,
right?
And then they should just be honest and say, there's no property.
There's confusion.
Exactly, and go back in the joint. Exactly. So, continuing with Mr. Oswald here, he continues. He picks it up here. He said there must be acknowledgement of the supreme God and fundamental rights, as well as the position of the family which is endowed by the Creator. Okay. Express columnist and representative. Now listen to what Mr. Baldio saying is, right? Express columnist and representative of the Humanist Association of Trinidad and Tobago. The Humanist Association of Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, I said humanist. Right? Kevin Baldio's thing shared another view. Here's his view. Baldio saying an atheist expressed concern with the preamble of the Constitution, which states, whereas the people of Trinidad and Tobago have affirmed that the nation of Trinidad and Tobago is founded upon principles that acknowledge the supremacy of God. He had issue with that. Baldio Singh said, this was not true. In 1976, and it was not true today. He said, the preamble contradicts another section of the Constitution which speaks to conscious belief and observance and freedom of thought and expression. The preamble, he said, was philosophically incoherent. And there may be legal implications for non-believers in the terms of their rights. What rights a non-believer in God can have? You don't believe in God, so you don't have no rights and freedoms. It's God give us all rights and freedoms.
No.
That is my opinion. Wait. That's my opinion. If you're an atheist, right? He's an atheist. So, you know, in an atheist man, they don't believe in no God. That's not what I'm like. They don't believe in no God, right? Of course, they are false God, but they don't know that.
But they believe in rights.
But they believe in rights and freedom.
So, but the same with them. They believe that rights is given by man.
You hear what he is? The head of the Humanist Association of Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, what am I?
See what his argument, they don't do away with the concepts of rights and freedoms because he has rights and freedoms.
Yes.
So his argument, like, removing the supremacy of God, but don't remove my rights and freedoms. What about the, let's say, the supremacy of God, even now taking away your rights and freedoms? How it is doing it?
And something wrong with it.
Yeah, he said,
and one more thing catch me, you turn around and say, the Constitution attacks the preamble, they say the freedom of certain thoughts and all kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But when the preamble talk about thoughts and all these things, they just expressing what freedoms. So your individual thoughts and your beliefs, the Constitution doesn't attack your individual thoughts and beliefs when it said God being what? The supreme creator. And your rights and freedom getting done by God, it doesn't take away from you having rights and freedom.
Here's what he's taking again.
It makes no sense.
The Constitution of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, no, brother.
Yeah, well, I wanted to make the same point. What I wanted to say was how he could say that 2 points of the Constitution contradicting each other. One point saying that he
said it's incoherent.
Right, he was saying that it is formulated, it is founded upon doctrines of the Bible or a religion, a particular religion. And then he's saying that in another point it's saying that you can actually think for yourself.
Yeah.
That not contradicting each other at all.
Even so, like Kevin was saying, I'll put in a category of great hypocrite because he get married the other day. And if marriage is an institution of God, right? Look, the other day, I think it was I think 2 months ago, he got married.
Okay.
It
And
was-
what did he married to, a man or woman?
A woman.
Oh, okay.
You see?
Right? So for him to say, to go against
Institution of
God, to
God.
remove God, but
See?
look, he get married the other day. Which is pure hypocrisy he practicing.
To become one.
I just want to say something, right? You
Guys?
see, while he's attacking
Yeah, guys,
the
you can.
supremacy of God and the Constitution being founded upon Bible principles, you see, the rights doctrine is a social doctrine.
Amen.
Right? The doctrine of rights and freedoms, it doesn't attack the Hindu. It shows the Hindu, look, you have rights and freedoms, but God will judge you for practicing that religion.
Right.
So you're still free in society, socially free, under the rights doctrine, to practice your religion. But God will judge you for that. You understand? So it's not like because they use the Bible to formulate the Constitution means that the Constitution attacks Hinduism, the Constitution attacks Islam because it's the Bible that was used.
Not so.
No.
It is a social doctrine.
Amen.
You
Amen.
understand? So all is equal here because look, the Constitution
Right
exists,
principles.
Hindus exist,
Amen.
Muslims exist,
Amen.
we exist.
Amen.
You understand? But look, it's the Bible that is used to put that here.
Amen.
So much so it's encouraging the freedom of thought and the freedom of rights or religion. Say what he
Amen.
wants to say.
Amen.
Yes.
Opinion.
And what we will say
Speech.
is that God will judge them. But they don't want us to say that God will judge them.
That's the point. That's the point. So here's what he's kicking against,
They
right?
are critical.
Rights enshrined. The recognition and protection of fundamental human rights and freedoms. It is hereby recognized and declared that in Trinidad and Tobago there have existed and shall continue to exist without discrimination by reason of race, origin, color, religion, or sex, the following fundamental human rights and freedoms, namely, the right of the individual to life, liberty, security of the person, and enjoyment of property, and the right not to be deprived thereof, except by due process of the law. Yes, Brother Michael?
Church strength, we come in agreement that, right? And based upon the thing you read before about the man in the newspaper, right? And the family have come to also. They are tight into my mind. What people have to be glad about is that God allow a social doctrine like that to be right from the scriptures. Because it don't have no other holy book propagating rights and freedom.
Amen.
None other. You can't when you read the Bhagavad Gita, God encouraging the man to violate rights and freedoms and don't respect it.
Amen.
When you read the Talmud, it's against rights and freedoms. When you read the
Quran.
it's against rights and freedoms.
It's
When you
against
read the Bible says rights and freedoms for all.
Amen.
So they should be glad to know that God allow such a form of government to come upon the face of the earth, that each individual rights and freedoms can be respected for the aim of their salvation. They should be glad and not attack it.
No.
You're not seeing that.
When I continue reading, yes, Sister Del.
Just say something. We were quoting this text for quite a long while.
Yes.
And I think again I need to read it out for the brethren, because while we see that Mr. Baldio Singh is calling for such a law against the rights and freedoms, and is saying certain things against the rights and freedoms, remember that it is evil angels that is behind him.
Of course.
So while you're looking at Baldio Singh, what you have to do is to look at evil angels and Satan. Amen?
Amen.
So we were looking at a text for quite a long while in Daniel class. I think I need to read it again today. In Psalm chapter 94, right? Psalm chapter 94. And this is what you're up against. You're not up against a man. You're up against Satan and evil angels.
Amen.
This is what you're up against. And when you're preaching and teaching the doctrine of rights and freedom, the preaching and teaching of the doctrine of rights and freedoms have to go with some kind of morality.
Amen.
So you can't just go and preach rights and freedoms like that. Because what Satan is trying to do, in essence, is to make you lose your spirituality by the things that are being said and by laws that are being made. So when you're looking at Mr. Baldio saying that, what you have to look at is who is behind him to say that. Saying that God is the one that gave us our rights and freedoms. Our rights and freedoms is inalienable, inviolable. What Mr. Baldio is doing is attacking it. It is evil angels and Satan.
Amen.
But why they are doing it? They are doing it that they will unseat you and you will give up your faith. Because once Satan sees that you're using your choice to accept Christ, to be justified, to be sin-free, what he does is that he, by legislations, right, by unjust laws, he put that here, that some people that are weak in the faith and is not strong spiritually, right, with the legislations, if the legislation has persecution, they can give up the faith. So really and truly, the legislations with persecution comes to you, or they are made that you will give up the faith in essence.
Amen.
So when you're looking at those unjust laws, and you're looking at those statements, it's really evil angels that are behind him to say that. In Psalm chapter 94, I like this text quite a lot. In Psalm chapter 94, right? Psalm chapter 94, right? Right. And verse 19 and 20, right? I'll read from verse 18 to 20. It says this: When I said, my foot slippeth, thy mercies, O Lord, held me up. So it is the mercies of God that keeps you, right?
Amen.
It says here, in the multitude of my thoughts, within me, comfort, right? Thy comfort delight my soul. Here a person is keeping the commandments of God, and through the commandments of God, they are getting encouragement. And as Sister Nicole was saying, you get your rights and freedoms from the commandments too, right? But just look at how the text after that fit in with what we were reading before. Look at the text. It says this: Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law? So really and truly, the laws that are being made is really mischief.
Amen.
It's evil angels that are causing these people to make these laws, say these things, to attack you, that you will be unseated and that you will not keep the commandments of God. Amen. And what we are saying is that, look, you have to have the Holy Spirit, because when they make those unjust laws, you can't just go and just preach like that. You have to have the Holy Spirit, and God has to be with you, and God has to protect you. Because when you go and they look to do you some harm, you could give up the faith because you don't want harm to come to your body. You could give up the faith under different circumstances. And some people, when we are in church and they are not facing trouble, it is easy to say, Lord, Lord. But when you face a kind of trial and a kind of persecution, some people give up the faith under that. And I'm not saying something that somebody tell me, I see it for myself over and over. So these people make mischief. That's a mischievous thing. And when you look at what Mr. Baldio Singh is saying, you're not just looking at Mr. Baldio Singh, you're looking at what evil angels has as intention for you. And the laws that they are making is mischief. And the laws that they are making is for you to be unseated in regards to your spiritual development. So when we are talking about rights and freedoms have also to go with morality.
Amen.
Amen? Amen. Because if they are attacking your choice to preach the truth, and they're attacking your conscience to say certain things, it means to say that they will be attacking your morality because your conscience has to do with morality.
Amen.
Amen? So you have to watch out for it. So what Sister Nicole is saying, keep in mind, brethren, that is evil angel behind this man. That is Satan that is behind this man. So, Sister Nicole, right? I want Brother Shannon, seeing that he's the head of the institute, to just give a little statement in regards to constitutional reform. So we'll get clear. What does he think about constitutional reform? Brother Shannon.
That's not before Brother Shannon, just 1 second before Brother Shannon starts, right? What Sister Del said is quite on point. Because one of the things that Satan once done, is trying to do and is getting through it at a certain point, is to have another gender.
Yes.
To have another gender. Apart from male and female, another gender. Right? And as I continue to read Mr. Baldio's statement, you will realize that what Sister Del said is on point. It is evil angels behind him. Brother Shannon.
Would you read a portion of Baldio's statement? Because I'm not aware of
Brother Shannon, I'm not seeing him tape.
Could you read a portion of Kevin's statement?
Kevin
I didn't read it.
Baldio saying.
Okay, all right.
He is on the high point.
Especially with the new gender.
Yes, well, okay. So I'll read over. You didn't hear what I read before. Okay, great. So Kevin Baldio Singh is the head of the Humanist Association of Trinidad and Tobago, right? And what he is saying is this. Baldio Singh, an atheist, expressed concern with the preamble of the Constitution, which states, whereas the people of Trinidad and Tobago have affirmed that the nation of Trinidad and Tobago is founded upon principles that acknowledge the supremacy of God. He says, this was not true in 1976, and it was not true today. He said, the preamble contradicts another section of the Constitution which speaks to the conscious belief and observance and freedom of thought and expression. So he totally saying that having God in the Constitution takes away from the freedom of thought, expression, and observance. Right? The preamble, he said, was philosophically incoherent, and there may be legal implications for non-believers in terms of their rights. Philosophically incoherent, that two long words simply means that it is hard to understand what is being said in the Constitution. Incoherent means confusing. So what he's saying is it is philosophically confusing because the Constitution contradicting itself. Basically, that's what he said. He also noted that in the 2011 demographic report stated that the number of people who indicated that they had no religion increased by 33% to 28,000 plus and 28,000 plus, and others who did not state their religion amounted to over 46,000 people. Baldio Singh suggested that God be left out of the Constitution. You want me to read some more?
No, it's okay.
Consciousness is the highest.
Well, he first of all has to be thankful for the Constitution that allows him to say what he said.
Amen. That's it. Amen.
Because if our Bill of Rights, if Section 4 of the Constitution was not pro rights and freedoms, he certainly would not be able to give such expression and also publish it in media.
Beautiful.
So again, it shows the plus of our
Bible
canon, and particularly Section 4 of the Constitution. Because what's happening today, we're facing around the world
Global attack.
an onslaught, a legal onslaught is coming.
Amen.
One, with the drive to get gay rights into the Constitution. We already see it being passed in America in different states.
Already. North Carolina.
And other parts of the world, and the drive is also down here taking place.
That is Kevin Baldio's point.
Yeah.
I have a question on that regard, right?
Okay.
Now, I want to know, just as how when couples get married, male and female, the woman change the name.
Yeah.
How will it be under that circumstance? Well, you can't be what you are not. I mean to say. You can't be what you are not. So, how will the name change come about?
That
Who
question
will
is very
assume the
confusing.
role of what? I don't know if it's an assumed role or what. So, I don't know how
What I have to do is to dissolve the marriage.
So, I don't know what is their position on that.
I just had a document I shared with somebody yesterday.
Amen.
I don't know what the position in that.
But you see, you're parenting a little farmer.
No, as it was on that, I was asking, I'm kind of curious wanting to know.
Because right now they want to change the definition of gender. Yeah.
You remember before drive,
There's no 1 minute, Brother Shannon. There's no. Sister Sandra, what you have to read there?
I am just showing you the married couple here.
That's no, huh?
Two ladies,
Run off that.
right?
Let me see it again, Brother Sister. Yeah.
Yes.
I'll tell you the names just now. Right? Tracy and Maggie
It's a virus.
Cooper Harris. So you ready there?
Cooper Harris.
Tracy and Maggie Cooper Harris are legally married, but the Department of the Veterans Affairs denied Tracy's application for additional compensation, to which other married veterans are entitled.
So they want the rights.
So they want their rights to get their compensation.
See? You see
Look
the
at
stats?
here, husband and wife.
Yes, Brother Shannon.
Two women, they carried
Wife and wife.
Tracy and Maggie Cooper Harris
So you think
are
correct.
legally married. So,
listen, the issue of gender is already genetically predetermined.
Determined,
You
yeah.
can't get anything outside and be it's male or female.
That's all.
That's a blueprint issue. It is genetically fixed. And when children
Male
are
and female.
determined at a certain stage of the development, they will only get a male or a female.
That's all.
Nothing else. All they are seeking to change is the forms. They're seeking to change the forms, which is a male and a male in form, but it's still going to have a male and a female in function. So somebody's going to be male and somebody's going to be female.
exactly.
So it is so fixed, they can't help but remain within the model of male and female. They just seek to change the form, which is bodily, male and female body. But they can't change the core of it. So that is simply, it is simply a dangerous scientific trend that will cause a collapse in society if it is going to run too far.
Brother Shannon, but in the light of that, right? Because as Sister Nicole was saying last week, when you go to the state to get married, they don't say I pronounce you man and wife. They're saying I pronounce you legally married.
Yeah.
What do you think in regards to constitutional reform? What do you think in the light of that in regards to constitutional reform?
Well, that's what I was saying and started off earlier to say, is that there's a drive in the world to bring those changes. Just recently they had a forum in the States, the Equality Forum, and the agenda is changing the whole definition and structure of gender itself. Because the constitutional law must now be modified to accommodate gay rights.
Amen.
So the whole issue about rights is also undergoing that sort of change to accommodate male, male, female, female. So the idea of rights is just being further modified to suit and to accommodate the gay rights agenda or the concept of gay rights. There's nothing like gay rights. Rights are not gay. Rights are human rights. Nothing else. Animal rights. You can have more than the only other rights that have apart from human rights is the rights of God.
Amen.
So they are seeking to change, further change the model of rights. Now what we face in Gambia, in this country, actually they already have a draft constitution in existence, but it has been hidden. Since the time when Parta was in charge, of course he is fired a while now, it was already there, but the government did not want to publish it because of lack of favor. The favor of the government has been on the decline and continuing decline as well. When you look at the Legal Affairs Ministry set up a website by the name of reformtheconstitution.org, and when you look at some of the guys who are on their videos and their interests and what they are advocating, gives us a sense and idea of what to expect with constitutional change. They haven't started off by giving us a draft, so you have an idea of what's coming or how to address the matter. All they're doing is having consultations and just hearing what people are saying. The real thing hasn't started as yet. The bad part of all that is that they can end up saying, we have finished consultations already, come up with a draft, and after the draft is developed, doesn't have consultations again. That's the danger in that. You're supposed to start the draft and have consultations in it, and then modify the draft. But they start without a draft, clear consultations, and you could form your own draft now, and then send it directly to Parliament and try to make amendments and work it out accordingly. So the whole thing is dangerous. The current head of the judiciary actually is advocating a total rewrite of the Constitution. A total rewrite.
So, Brother Shannon, when they say constitutional reform, just for those that does not understand, what do they mean by constitutional reform?
Constitutional reform, all it's supposed to mean is that it's not supposed to mean change of the Bill of Rights.
Exactly.
Because the Bill of Rights is to protect the rights of the people.
And it's from God.
And the rights of the people are not changeable. You don't have the right to life now and wake up
And you have it again.
and that right of change. So the rights are fixed and are unchangeable. So likewise, laws that protect those rights and freedoms are supposed to be unchangeable and immutable.
That is not
However,
reformable.
procedural issues may have need to change to make it more compliant with the spirit of the Bill of Rights. So if you have to have reforms, those reforms is to just make sure that the Constitution is more friendly to the rights of the people.
That's all.
That's what we're dealing with. It has nothing to do with changing rights and so on. No.
Rights and change.
Constitutional reform has to do with making the provisions of the Constitution more compliant with the rights of the people. Now, when we come to the rule of law, which is just another term for identifying, say, republicanism. When we come to the rule of law, remember you have two categories of law. You have the law of God, you have the rule of grace, the rule of law, and the whole system of the government of God. And when you look at Daniel chapter 4 gives you an idea that republicanism only is republicanism if it is compliant to the government of God.
Amen.
So Daniel chapter 4 identified the ideological structure of republicanism in light of the bureaucracy.
Amen.
Amen.
Therefore, the whole issue about republicanism or the rule of law is merely a process that is to ensure the protection of the rights and freedom of people. The rule of law should really be called the rule of derived law, because it always has the context of the rule of God's law. So that must supersede. So then the rule of law is really the rule of derived law, because it's supposed to, you only have one lawgiver.
That's right.
And that's God. Since
Amen.
God is the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature, then
He's the one.
He is the source of all these things. So then constitutional law is really derived law. Now if it is not derived law, then it's not going to be based on human rights. And if it's not based on human rights, it is anti-rights and anti-freedom. So if we have to have any sort of reform of the Constitution, it must be to make the provisions of the Constitution more supportive, and more compliant and friendly to the rights of the people that is supposed to be enshrined in Section 4. Yes, our Constitution here needs some improvement.
Reforming.
And that's merely provisional improvement. That's
So
merely
nothing is
provisional.
wrong. Nothing is wrong with the word constitutional reform if it have to reform in different areas and so on.
Yes. Mind you, when you listen to the head of the Legal Affairs Ministry, Prakash Ramana, when you listen to all these guys, they don't know nothing about law.
They don't even know nothing about rights.
They know nothing about rights and freedoms.
That is the point.
But that is understandable. These guys are not learning from the king of the universe. And this is where we have to have more appreciation and value for what we receive, because we did not go to some university or to get it. We get it directly connected to the king of the universe.
Amen.
And there needs to be appreciation for such revelation of such doctrines.
Amen.
Because it positions us to have more effect as we advance the world.
Amen.
So we need to see that whole process and what's going on there as at a very low standard, so that when we go to do the work, we will be sweeping through.
Amen.
And we will get
Raising the
done.
consciousness.
This is more than locational, which is Trinidad and Tobago is locational.
Yes.
It's geographical.
Local.
Geographical.
We studied this morning that salvation is not locational.
Amen.
So you don't have to go some little spot of the globe to get great
Change.
the great king of the universe.
Amen.
The one who is not only king of every world or every region, but the universal king. That seems to be so small and so petty to claim that you have to go to a certain location for somehow God to work with you.
Amen.
Come on. The point is, Christ said, ye are the light of the globe. Not the light of the region, not the light of Trinidad, not the light of Asia,
Like
but the light of the
universe.
globe. Therefore, our mentality should be of such. If our mentality is of that level, then we prepare with that in mind. We won't prepare that, okay, I have to meet somebody in that month, talk with them. And you just have your thinking limited to that. The thinking must extend to a point where you're preparing to give a global message.
Very good.
And to finish the work.
Amen.
And the globe, after all, is a small place. So I think that's the mentality to have. Therefore, when the preparation will go that far, your understanding will go that far. And if you have that kind of message, then you're going to be using God's kingdom to get that work done.
Amen.
Very good. So you all understand, in a sense, what is constitutional reform, right? You all understand in a sense of that, right? So when you're listening to Sister Nicole, bear in mind that when she's talking about constitutional reform, there are certain things, according to what Brother Shannon is saying, that needs reforming. So when you're talking about constitutional reform, you're not talking about your rights and freedoms. That is apart from your rights and freedoms. So there are certain things that really needs reforming, not your rights and freedoms.
Because you can't.
Amen, brother.
We don't have a provision in Section 4 that ensures the separation of religion and legislation.
Yeah.
We don't have that.
Yes.
We could do something like that.
Yes.
It is too easy in this Westminster system that we follow. It is too easy to make changes to Section 4 of the Constitution. That should be changed. It shouldn't be no two-thirds majority.
Yes.
The rights that are enshrined in provisions of Section 4 should be made immutable, and it should be a very difficult process to interfere
with that.
amend any provisions therein. That's another thing we need to have some changes upon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sister Sandra, but just not before you, but Michael wanted to say something. Go ahead, Michael. You forget. Go ahead.
I'm following him.
Alright. Sister Sandra.
Yeah, I just have a book in my hand here. Thinking Things Over. This is from 1987, where they started to discuss this issue of constitutional reform. This is an earlier version. I have another book a little more. But as I turn here, under the section they call Fundamental Human Rights and Freedoms, which it is I am gathering, or what we are to understand that we are to seek to preserve our rights and freedoms. But instead of that, hear what they are saying here. The Constitution continues to recognize, as did the independent Constitution, that in Trinidad and Tobago there have existed and shall continue to exist without discrimination by reason of race, origin, color, religion, or sex, following human rights and fundamental freedoms. Now, they are taking this now, they gave a whole category of the freedoms, and then they are saying these human rights and fundamental freedoms are based on the Canadian Bill of Rights of 1960, and they go down to speak. Now, when I pick up this, I gather in here that really these people are not looking at the original thought which caused the Constitution on a whole to be brought into being. The Constitution was really brought into being by the inalienable rights that God has secured for us, giving us our rights and our freedoms. So when you are taken off to go to Canada or to some British state or to some other place, they themselves didn't have their structure as God has ordained it to be. The only country that had it that way is the United States of America. So therefore we have to understand where our rights came from as given by God. And therefore, as Brother Sharon was saying, if you're looking to do adjustments in the Constitution, adjustments in relationship to the various needs that we will have, but leave our rights and freedoms intact. Don't interfere with them. Don't trouble them to accommodate sodomy and all these different things.
This is what is taking place. Now, this constitutional reform is twofold, right? One, what they're doing, as far if you all follow what Brother Shannon said, what they're doing is that they're mixing up constitutional reform and rights and freedom.
Yes.
They're mixing in rights and freedoms with constitutional reform in the sense that they want to change the Constitution to interfere with certain rights. Like they want to give certain sex certain rights. Right? Like the gay and lesbian community, sodomy, and lesbian community.
But Sister Nicole, don't say you have to give them certain rights.
They have no rights.
They can't give somebody rights.
But this is it. That's what's going on here. They want to change the Constitution so that it will be like giving them
probably if it's a profanity or fertility, right?
Exactly.
So don't follow them where they give them the rights. Say you want to give them certain provided opportunities or certain provinities, but not rights, because rights has already been given. So that's not even the word to use.
Amen. So, well, we can't go much less than Brother Michael is way after 4, right? So, ask a question or make a comment quickly so I can wrap up and go ahead.
Then one thought on express, right? Is that if you watch the foundation of sodomy and the teachings from which it derived from, you understand? Where it come from what you call apostasy. It comes from what you call spiritualism. Okay,
false religion.
When it derived from false religion. So when you see this being pushed here as a step to implement sodomite rights, how they want to put it across the world, it's really a test run to legislate a religion on a global scale. Because the backdrop behind sodomy is really what? False religion. So if they can get it to accept a practice which derived from apostasy, rebellion against God, they can cause it to accept false religion. Like there's Satan that attempt of gathering the world to fight against God. You understand?
That no, that's what I should.
Yeah, she did identify the Canada. Yeah. But also Canada was from America. So it was influenced by American Constitution. Now apart from that, the next thing that has to be, we have to be careful with is, in this country, we are signatories to several United Nations treaties. And that has a lot of danger in it. Because the United Nations talks about inalienable human rights. But when you look at the concept of rights they advocate, they say rights are based on human dignity. So following the UN model, UN definition and concept of human rights is very dangerous.
Dangerous procedure.
And that's why United Nations have been declaring additional things. They have claimed that they are the authority on human sexuality.
Yes.
So they make determinations in that area. They also have is behind the Declaration of Human Responsibilities. And a huge amount of things that the United Nations is operating as though it is some sort of government. Remember, actually, international law is not really a legitimate concept because United Nations is not some government. The legislature belongs into a government structure. So when they talk about international law, that has to be careful with that. So the idea of rights, you will hear United Nations talking about inalienable rights, but that's not biblical inalienable rights. That's they call it inalienable rights in their instruments, but it is based upon human dignity. And all the countries of the world are just signing in, adopting treaties, and making them compliant with local law, and so on. And the big thing today, I can't remember the name they call it, where it is they are seeking to become more international, whereby you are importing these international legal concepts into the local constitutions,
and damaging the
which is going to govern, the local law and so on. So we have to pay attention to that. Trinidad has signed into is a signatory of many United Nations treaties that are anti-Section 4 of the Constitution. Those things therefore erode Bill of Rights, and it's dangerous. That's another major factor into the local law that has to be paid attention to.
Brother Aaron was listening online from Canada. He says this: the whole premise for their argument is false and unconstitutional, because rights and freedoms are not given in groups, but are individually granted, and the responsibility that comes with inalienable rights are individually granted, individually demanded. Right?
So, brethren, right now in Trinidad and Tobago, what is taking place is that the constitutional reform that is seeking is twofold. Right? I have a copy of the Bill of Rights, we'll go through this also, and a copy of the Declaration of Independence. Why it is twofold what is taking place in Trinidad and Tobago here is because there are two factions seeking for certain things. And we will go through what that is. When we're thinking that this constitutional reform is just a simple thing, it isn't. When people just taking it for granted that it's just a simple thing, it isn't. For instance, giving soldiers, precepting soldiers, giving soldiers the right to arrest. Police, the right, same rights that police have, right? No. What we have going on in the country here right now is that police and soldiers already have joint patrols, and it is already a success. Why do you want to precept the soldiers also? If we already have a success with the joint patrol, don't try to fix something that doesn't need fixing. We have that success. Why are they trying to have the soldiers precepted. According to Lawrence Maraj, defense bill can have a serious impact on democracy, and it is making a mockery of the Constitution. I will read that for you all next week, please go. The other part that is taking place has to do with the gay and lesbian community. They want to change the definition of gender. Right? We know that there are only two genders, right?
Amen.
Male and female.
Male and female. From the beginning of time, male and female, they want to change the definition of gender. So, the religious groups in Trinidad looking at that. And it goes further. It goes further. The religious groups looking into it. It is worrying them because they want to change the definition of gender. You all remember, was it this year or last year that this woman got fired because she was calling for the government to look at the gay rights, the gay and lesbian community, for them to have right to marry and things like that, and she got fired. Right. So, hear this now, hear this headline. Call for ruling on the word gender, a consultation on draft national policy. So we're looking at two things here. The gay and lesbian community and the soldiers being precepted, the defense bill. Yes, brother.
Nicole, did they have a lecture in UA about the definition of gender? So they bring a lady down from the United Nations and they have a lecture in UA. I think that's what 2 weeks or a week ago.
Yeah, this is it here. This is it here. And the definition she brings have the religious people up in arms. It have the religious community up in arms. So, brethren, next week, please God, is going to be very interesting because what I have to read for you all will truly understand the depth of this thing. You understand? You all will truly understand the depth of this thing. Another interesting article I also picked up here. Right. Another article I also picked up here, right, is the gender agenda. Destructive to our children.
Yes,
destructive to our children. So, we're going to do it in parts. First, we will deal with the gender agenda, and then we will deal with the soldiers.
Right.
So,
that's how we talk.
brethren, let us close with a word.
Before you close, what you have to remember, our rights and freedoms are always moral. There's nothing immoral about our rights and freedoms. So if you're coming to legislate something immoral, that is not rights and freedoms.
Amen.
That is the standard, okay?
So,
it is unchangeable. Right and right.
Let us pray, brethren. Father in heaven, we do indeed thank you, Lord, for this wonderful study that we've had here this afternoon. Father, as we go through this and we go through the maze of this constitutional reform, Lord, help us to truly understand and see the seriousness of this, Lord. Because it is eventually going to encroach on our rights and freedoms. And Lord, you know, and we know that once that happens, we will be interfering with your rights, and that is where trouble starts. Father in heaven, help us to be vigilant. Help us to be sober. Help us to be alert. Help nothing, Lord, to pass by us. Help us to see and hear and know and learn and understand every single thing that is there for us to do, Lord.
Amen.
As we are about to continue our services for this day, continue to be with us, Lord Jesus. Fill us with your Holy Spirit, Lord Jesus. Grant us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And as we are about to enter into your song service, sweeten our voices with faith so that we may get the true understanding of what it is to be faithful to you also in song. Be with us in this wise, Lord, is our prayer, with much thanksgiving unto thee. Amen.